Okay. So hi guys, and welcome to our very first episode of GG's Football and Cheer. Today I'm joined with a really special guest, my teammate and friend, Nathan Walker from the U Ottawa GG's Varsity Football. Thank you for being with us today, Nate.
Appreciate you having me.
Now, I'm really glad that you could be here today. Do you want to just give our viewers a little bit about yourself, maybe some stuff you've done in the past with football?
Yeah, sure. So, as Nick mentioned earlier, my name's Nathan Walker. I'm a current U Ottawa GG by transfer from the University of Bishops to pursue a master's in sports management. Previously at Bishops, I played for the Bishops Gators while pursuing a degree in sports studies with a business concentration as well as a society. Um, Came to U Ottawa because I thought that this was the best school that gave me the experience of both obtaining a master's, with the school being very well known worldwide for their sports management program, as well as giving me the opportunity to play football. Obviously, with COVID, there isn't much football being played, but still being part of the team and meeting a bunch of these great individuals is a great experience.
Yeah, it was really great kind of introduction there. Like you were saying, I was really happy you talked about how University of Ottawa has a really great program for sports management. Again, myself, I'm in the Telfer School of Business, so I can appreciate that especially. Talking kind of a little bit about your time at Bishops, did you kind of start as soon as you got there? Like, how many years of eligibility do you have left that you're bringing kind of here? Do you have 1 year left or
I'm
two?
bringing one. Yeah,
You're
I'm
bringing
bringing
one?
bringing
Okay.
1 year left.
So it's almost nice that
I didn't initially start when I first got there to
okay.
to Bishops. I redshirted my first year.
Okay.
But I played a total of 4 seasons there. While I was there, so I spent I think 4.5 total.
Okay, so that's got to be almost nice though that because COVID's done it, you almost get to be here an extra year and hold on to that eligibility. So you're going to be almost twice as good when you do get into a game next season because you've had more practice time, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's the plan. I was saying the same thing to some of the coaches and some of the other players.
Yeah.
It's a blessing and a curse at the same time. Everybody has another year to develop themselves and master their craft.
Exactly, especially because we have a new head coach obviously that comes in. The whole new system gives you a lot more time to kind of master it, so that kind of hit the ground running as soon
Yeah.
as we kind of do that. Did you find kind of a big culture shock when you move from maybe a smaller school to a larger school like this, where it's a lot different?
Um. Obviously, there isn't. I haven't experienced the full big school
Yeah.
experience, but I would definitely say yes when it comes to school. Um, Being at a smaller school where the biggest class you have um, is maybe 100 something people. Just hearing other people talk about how there's, you know, so many, two to 300 people in their classes.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Obviously, with me being in the master's program, the size of the class isn't that much different. There's only about 30 of us in that program,
Mhm.
but I definitely felt a difference, and I think it shows throughout my classmates. You could tell who came from a bigger school, who came from a
Yeah.
smaller school. I think me being a smaller school guy, I like to talk a lot more and
Yeah.
get interpersonal and learn a bit more about people. So it's definitely a bit of a shock, but I wouldn't say it's necessarily a bad one.
No, I can totally agree with that. And then especially because Bishop's only population is only like 2,500 or something, right?
Yeah,
Like,
something like two to three
yeah,
thousand.
which is like what my high school was like. So for me, I was almost thinking because I was actually thinking of going there after high school. I was like, this is gonna be just like high school. Everyone's gonna know everybody. It's gonna be way cool. Rather than here, it's more like, especially because COVID, you haven't experienced all of it, but it's almost like you could kind of blend in a lot easier. Rather than I'm sure it's a lot easier to stand out at a smaller school. Have you seen a lot of big differences? Again, through COVID, it's harder, I guess, to tell, but just through football, how things are kind of structured, or is it kind of the same no matter where you go, sort of thing?
Um, when it comes to some of the base stuff, a lot of it is the same. Like,
Okay.
um, there are certain terminologies and things like that. And again, it stems from the fact that a lot of the coaches, I believe, in the U Sports League, love to learn from each other or learn from similar sources as each other. So some of the terminology when I got here was fairly the same, um, but I think the difference would be again sort of just with a smaller school, like I would unintentionally be running into coaches, every 2 seconds
Yeah,
on campus because there's not much room for everybody, right? But I think that ultimately, I would say it's not that much different.
for sure. Especially, yeah, there's nowhere to hide in a smaller school. You're all out in the open kind of thing.
Yeah,
So for
still gotta come and do your workouts and
yeah,
show up to practice. So it's really more on the individual more than the situation itself.
yeah, and then especially for people who obviously are viewers, they don't really know that kind of COVID screws us up every time there's a lockdown and gyms shut down. So now we're kind of gone to virtual settings where we just log into our laptops. Just kind of talking in terms of like COVID and affecting you mentally. What do you think would be one of your like strongest challenges, whether that be like through football or school or mentally kind of thing?
I think the biggest, as a student athlete, the biggest drawback with COVID is would be having a sense of almost belonging for me, just in the sense where for me I'm a fan of group work,
Oh
and
yeah,
I believe that groups, bring out the best in people. Like for me, when I go to the gym and I'm with a bunch of my teammates, or if I'm in class with a bunch of my classmates, and if I find something hard, I know that there are people there who I can talk to, people who are probably experiencing the same thing, and that in turn motivates me to strive to do better. Me being also a competitive person, like when I'm beside someone that I can see is doing better than me, I want to go and excel. I want to reach the same level or surpass the level that they're on. So just visually seeing that right in front of me, I think would be the biggest thing. So it'd be more of a motivation factor. But again, just got to sort of find your way, keep in contact with people. Obviously, the virtual stuff isn't as ideal as I would hope it to be, but it is what it is, and you got to continue to, tap into your inner motivator and keep it going.
I totally agree with a lot of that, especially when you're talking about from a competitive, from even like weightlifting or from price. I know definitely like especially kind of you being an older guy kind of thing. I kind of look for you, especially because we're more like maybe not in weight, but in size we're kind of a little bit similar than say some of the other dudes. So I kind of look for you kind of to kind of strive to do what you're kind of doing and stuff like that. And kind of that's a motivation for me. So I totally agree with when I'm looking through a camera, maybe just a Coach Dylan, it's a little bit harder to kind of gauge myself with the other guys. But again, it's a lot. I like when we're having conversations on there. Like the other day, we had a really great conversation. I thought kind of as a team, kind of team building like that.
Mm-hmm.
So then I'll kind of ask you again because you've kind of had this year now where we're just practicing, and then next year, what kind of expectations maybe do you have for yourself coming in as an older guy and as a graduate student, where it's kind of like it's your one year kind of last deal to kind of ride off into the sunset? What kind of expectations do you have?
Uh, the biggest expectation would be just you got to be about business, man. Like, um, one of the biggest things is a lot of people take stuff for granted, and obviously with it being 1 year of eligibility and stuff, you don't want to waste anything. You don't want anything to fall through the cracks. Like you just want to be on your p's and q's and want to make sure that everything is done right for to put you in the best situation to thrive. Because like you said, this is a type of sport where you can't necessarily go and play pickup football.
Yeah,
The body doesn't take to that. It's not like basketball or tennis or anything like that. So it's more about trying to make sure that you squeeze everything out of the bottle.
totally for sure. I totally agree with that. So then once kind of football kind of goes away, and I know you're in sports management, do you have kind of a plan for what you're looking to do with that after, or are you kind of just focused on school right now?
Yeah. With my degree, I plan on getting within the sporting industry. In particular, right now I'm looking into getting into the sports media industry, and seeing that that'd probably be my number one goal, but also trying to remain open to any and all other possibilities. I know, especially with the day that we're in, I know a lot of people who have gone and gotten degrees in certain aspects, and they go and work in something that's totally different, and they love that even more. So I think it's important to set yourself a goal, but but not to be blinded by tunnel vision and
Mhm.
only looking at that goal, because there are so many other possibilities that could bring you joy that you wouldn't even imagine.
For sure. I think that's a really great goal too, especially to kind of shoot for the top like that. Because again, sports media, especially, that seems like one of the most fun things to do in the world. You get to talk, especially you get to do more interviews like this, which it seems
Yeah.
like you kind of enjoy so far, which is good. But yeah, there's a lot of great possibilities, especially because you've done kind of the basic business, and then now that you're more specialized, there's a whole wide variety. Especially even that you've been an athlete, you kind of have those credentials to kind of say like I've experienced some of the things as well, which I
Exactly.
think is which I think is really great for that. And then kind of maybe like a final thing if you wanted to say here, unless you have any questions for me, obviously, is what kind of advice would you have for like maybe younger guys like myself who are kind of stepping into a university program for like their first year, kind of thing like that?
I think the number one, and I used to tell a lot of guys this when I was at Bishops as well, is um, work hard, but also love working hard. So, nothing in life comes easy. And I know for a lot of first years, again, I've experienced it myself being a redshirt freshman. Like, you don't always get the opportunity right away. You don't get thrown into the fire, and sometimes it's not a bad thing.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's better to prepare yourself to learn through seeing other people's mistakes rather than making the mistake yourself, and just trying to grasp as much knowledge as possible so that when you are put in that position, not only are you going out there and excelling because you put in the work, but you're enjoying it and you're not almost, oh, finally, like, and you sort of feel like you're more hung up about the opportunities you didn't get. So just enjoy opportunities you have, enjoy being around teammates, enjoy having a lack of sleep from studying too hard and going to practice and stuff like that, because again, this is a sport that doesn't last forever, unfortunately. So for some of us, for a lot of people, this is it, right? So
Mhm.
to already make it to this point is something that is a giant milestone that a lot of kids who only got to experience high school football never got to experience. So just sort of realizing the blessing that you have and knowing that if you continue to work, that you can only put, like, depending on the amount of work that you put in, like, you can only get what's given back, and just accept it and to love it and cherish it.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. At least from kind of my first year, I've experienced that a lot where you just kind of have to keep doing. You're gonna have a lot of sleepless nights trying to go back and forth. But I thought that was a really great answer for that, especially to some of our viewers who maybe haven't experienced something like this before. But
Mm-hmm.
again, I wanted to thank you a lot for coming today. I really appreciate you taking the time.
No, no
So
problem.
I really appreciate that. And again, I'd like to sign off here. Thank you guys for viewing. If you have any more questions for ourselves, you guys can send them into the comments below. And again, I wanted to thank Nathan for taking the time, and we'll see you guys next time on our next episode.
Thank you.